.NET Core Web API. So we were seeing like what is an API, what is an Web API, and why is Web API required. So these all things we were seeing in the last class, and also how to create a project, Web API project, and actually what it is doing, like what you'll have, like what are the difference between an API project in um, .NET Core, and the difference and how it differs from MVC. These were the things that we were seeing in the last class. So I took all these, but I never told what's the full form of API, if I remember. So API is Application Programming Interface. Basically, it acts as an interface between your front end and your back end. So it takes the data from your front end to back end and takes data from your back end to front end. So it just acts as an interface. That's all. It doesn't have any other work. So in simple words, we can say that an API is an application programming interface for a web application or web server. It uses HTTP protocol because basically it uses HTTP protocol means what? URL. So it uses the URL to transport data front and back. That's a protocol to communicate between client and websites to have data access. And ASP.NET Core is basically a cross platform. Okay, that's the framework that newly created from .NET framework. So .NET framework only runs in Windows. This one runs in cross platform. Basically, as I said, it will run in Linux, iOS, and Windows. Okay. Okay, so now we have created the application. Let's go to the application. Okay. So now let's execute the application without making any changes. So lastly, we created the application. I told you about the folder structure. What is the app settings? I told you, which is the web config in your .NET framework. Let's run this. See, this is our solution. By default, weather forecast, weather API executes and displays output using Swagger. So this is called the Swagger. Okay, I was mentioning last class. No, you'll have a Swagger, and that Swagger is what is an UI. And also, I was mentioning that in .NET framework, you should use Postman or Fiddler to access to test your API. But here in .NET Core, you don't need that. Your .NET Core framework gives an UI. This is the UI. It is like an Postman. So you see here, if you see, there is a controller and weather forecast controller. This is the default controller that .NET Core gives. Nothing. It's not that this thing. We can simply use it. That's all. Okay. So basically, they given a default API. It just gives see get weather forecast. Get it's a get, and it see it takes a JSON. See it takes a JSON, and if you give this um okay, it gives the JSON. Okay, it does not do anything. See, click on try it out. uh, See, it just gives the simple workers details. It's a default thing. It's like something nothing. It will be that you don't need to delete or change anything. But yeah, okay. So by default, weather API executes and displays output using Swagger. We call this as an Swagger. Okay, and it gives the this is your URL. See weather forecast. So weather forecast, that's your controller. Okay. So simply put, Swagger is an open source software tool to design, build, document, and use a RESTful web API. Basically, it is like an Postman. So I was explaining you the Postman now. So what you do in Postman, you go to Postman, you give the URL. See, this is the URL. You give the URL. You'll if there is any input, you'll send the request as a body, or in the URL itself. If you send and execute it, it will hit the API and give you the result. It does the same now here also. This one doesn't have any input, so you execute it and you get the output here. So this Swagger is an open source software tool. Basically, it is associated with .NET Core, and you get it as free. Okay, so you can build and use RESTful API. Okay,
Okay.
so Web API is mostly used to CRED. Okay, for what all you use the Web API? Create, R for read, E for edit, D for delete. Basically, you use for all these things. What is create? When you insert a data into your database, like any submit form. When you click on submit form, you get all the data and you pass it as a model to your API. Your API controller method receives the model and you insert into your database. That is create. What is read? You read from your database. Okay. Now let's say there's a search button. Let's say there's a search button. You want to get the details of. You want to get if you're selecting India, you should bring in all the state details. Okay. So you select India and hit on search. So you pass India alone as a query string, and this should let's say you write just a simple select query from your database. Select states from country where country is equal to India. Okay, this will bring all the states. No, that you return this as a list, or what do you want? You return this as a list. Let's say, okay, list of model. Okay, list of model, and you return that, and your API response is this list, and you return to your front end. That is read. You're reading it. Edit. Basically, edit, what you do, you update something. You want to update something in your database. In your page, you are editing something, and you're you're editing something and you are submitting, and that goes to your database, and you update it. That is edit, and last is delete. So these are the four things that you'll be able to do with an API. Basically, you can create, read, edit, and delete. Okay. You understand, no? What all you can do with the API?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So these you can separate into HTTP verbs. Okay. So HTTP verbs are very important. You should have used this in MVC, but still more than MVC, you will be using this in Web API. Okay, it's very important thing in Web API. Without this, you cannot create a Web API. Okay, HTTP get. When you want to retrieve data from the database, okay, when you want to retrieve data from the database, it's HTTP get. Basically, HTTP get means you send. Let's say, as I told you, search now the read. You send some data as a query string itself. Okay, when you send
Yes.
some data as a query string and you search, um, or you don't send any data and get some data from the database, those things will come under get. When you want to pass a model and get something, means you cannot do it with get. It HTTP get will not accept model as request. Actually, it will accept, but you should not do it. Okay, I'll tell you. These things we will see. Basically, let's say, see, this is my method. No, this is HTTP get. Okay,
Okay.
here I can get a single, like let's say ID, like this I can get as HTTP, but I should not add model as in my input. Let's say my model name. This cannot, I cannot do it with HTTP. So I do not have any model names. That's why it's throwing error. But yeah, I cannot receive models in HTTP get. Okay.
Okay.
So HTTP get, you cannot receive models. Not you cannot, but you should not. Okay.
Okay.
So HTTP get is for read operation. That's HTTP post. HTTP post. It is for create operation. So when you want to create, let's say you are passing some, let's say you submit button. Okay, let's say you have an registration form. You will fill all the details, and this you want to insert into your database in a particular table. Okay, that time you'll be passing the model. No, let's say you have same, no, see in MVC what you do, your CSHTML you create an in your view you create a registration form. Okay, basically you do an data binding. No, you do an
Mhm.
model binding means you will have a model and you will bind it in your view form. Okay, and whatever data is entered into in your view form, when you submit it, you will automatically receive that in your model in your controller. Right, this is what you do in MVC. This is what we
Yes.
usually do. Yeah, which means you receive it in your controller method as a model. You will have the model. We will write something here. So that we want to insert into, what is this name and all, I'll tell you. Post this. Okay, that you want to insert into your database. Let's say you want to insert into your database in some particular table means you'll receive it as a model, no, model name. Let's say model. You are receiving it as this model. Oh,
Okay.
and you'll be inserting these operations that you get models to insert anything. You should use HTTP post. Okay, so using HTTP post you can receive it as models. Okay,
Okay.
let's say you want to insert only one data. So this one is going to, let's say, um, yeah, let's say the operation is like you have a you want to insert states into a particular country. So you'll be passing only country and state name, new state name. You'll be passing the country and new state name, so that go to your, if you go to your database, that's like this. So there is a search box that gets that you drop down where you have to select the country. Okay. So you select India, and there is a text box where you have to select this, write the state name. So you newly write a state. Okay. Okay. So let's
Okay.
say you write it as West Bengal. You newly write it as West Bengal, and you want to insert this West Bengal in the India. Okay, for India, only these two you're going to pass, and you do not have a model. Yes, you, for post you don't need a model too. If it is only one or two, you can
Mm.
send individually. String state country comma string state. This you can do. Okay. So
Yes.
HTTP post you can pass model as well as query string also. Okay. But usually HTTP post are used to post your data only. Okay.
Okay.
Create operation. Next, HTTP put. Yeah, basically it is the standard that you should use to create an API. That's why you should use these things to create your API. Okay. For get you should only do the get. So you can mix and match. See, you can use the get to post the data, uh, but uh, it will sometimes it will give an issue. See, why why we can't use get to insert data into a database? I am passing at query string only. I can use the get. No, yes, you can do, but you are doing an insert operation. No, see, you are doing an insert operation. Let's say this. I can HTTP get, and I can pass the data and do an insert. Yes, I can do it. Okay, but you should not do. Why we say you should not do it? Because for two reasons. One reason. Okay, one reason. First, web API has a standard coding rule. As per coding rule, you should in we say this way. Every law, every no, purpose should be categorized under a particular thing only. See, if you are doing this for this purpose, you should put it under that box only. Okay. So that is the coding standard. You should follow the coding standard. Even else it will work, but you should follow that coding standard. Okay. First. Second, yes, get will work when you are passing data, but when you are passing heavy data, it will not work. It will not hold heavy data to insert, post, and all. And second, it sometimes your post your post operation is specifically designed for create operation inside your database. Your get will not satisfy your fully whatever your post operation does. Okay, it will not carry the data, and inside it will not go to a database, and insert operation will not happen. Um, like let's say if you are doing one, if one person is going to insert data into database today, that will work fine. But in production, if 10,000 people is going 10,000 people are going to use that get API to insert data into database, at least for 5,000 people it might throw an issue. Okay, your API might fail. So that is the issue. So you should use right verbs for right, um, right should use right verbs for right operation. And mostly one more thing. See, API is not only used for your front end and your back end alone. Let's say you are creating this API today. Okay, you created this API, and in your company some other team says, hey, I want to consume your API. I want to insert data into your database. We are let's say the same country and state. Okay, and there is some other team. So let's say some history department team, and from now on they are going to handle this new state, new country things and all means. Okay, they are going to pass the new state. You are not going to do anything, but you are and to insert into your database is yours. Okay, but they are going to pass the new state details and all means they should use your API. So what you should do means you should give your API to them, and they will simply send data to your API. So your API will be hit and data will be inserted into your database. That time you should be giving this. URL. No, how you will be giving this URL? What is this URL? HTTPS. Okay, already have this. Let's not do this. Let's stop and run this. You will get this one. See your post operation. So this, see my input country and state. So my country and state. Okay, so you should give this HTTPS to them. It's not like that alone. Question mark country and state. So when someone asks you asks you saying that we want to consume your API, means they want to use your API. Okay, consume. These are the words very important when you are working with the APIs. People will say they want to consume your API, which means simply they want to use your API. You should give the API URL to them. So this is your API URL. You should give them saying that this is an post API. Okay. So they will post it. So yeah, from C sharp, when they are connecting, they will post the data basically. So we'll see that in Angular, we should know which, see, all the APIs you cannot simply connect an API. You should know the API type, API HTTP verb. Based on that HTTP verb only, you can connect the API. You should know whether it is a get or put or post or delete something. You should know that. Okay, based on that. So when someone asks you, we want to consume your API, you should give the URL like this. They will fill the data here in the equal to, and then you should say it is a post. Okay.
Okay.
So this is about post. Sorry, actually, I was saying post, and there was something I was about to say, which is put. This is for update operation. When you want to update data in your database, you should use HTTP put. And one thing, update operation alone, you can even use post also. Post also you can use for update operation. It will handle. Okay. And for delete operation, you should use HTTP delete. So these are the main four HTTP verbs that you should know in an web API. Okay. So what we are going to do in our project now. Okay, so we are going to create a simple API project. So what we are going to do, so that will be a client, which is my input. I'm going to create an member API. So member API is going to get data. Okay, let's say member data, member data from database. Okay. Okay, see, whatever you are going to see, it will be like MVC only. Whatever you are going to see. Okay, as I said, web API is MVC, except you will not have an view. That's all. The view is some other place. Okay, that's all. Very simple. So your controller model, your controller is your API. That's all. You are hitting the method, and that will be returning in data. No, that is MVC. Same. Yeah, except you do not have the view. That is API. So you'll be seeing mostly everything as an um, MVC only. So let's go to your application. So we already have a controller. So so I'm going to create an mod. Okay, let's create an model, but I want to do something else. One second, I will show you. Hmm. Okay, so what I have done here, I have created class library. So what is basically a class library? Okay. Okay. Again, this is also you don't need. You can create it here itself. I'll tell you. Okay. So a class library is like a separate project where you can store all your models, interface, everything. Okay, your models, all your models, you can create a folder and store it here. Your interfaces, all everything you can store it here. Basically it is like to have a cleaned up. Okay, I am doing this so that it will be helpful in your application. I can basically create a folder here saying model and I can store all the models. But um, in if you go to if you work in today's no today how we work basically, we do not do that. When you create everything inside your API project itself, it is too confusing and it's too clumsy. Okay, so we created separate class library basically so that it is easy for us to identify, to debug, or for everything. It is very easy. Okay, so here I will create a folder. Create an interface also. Okay, I have created an interface and model. So I'm in interface. I'm going see in model. I'm going to create an class that will hold a simple model. Okay, and this will be member. So basically, make it as public always. Okay, as whatever. See, same thing. These are all will be same like your uh, MVC only. So I'm going to add some properties. Let's say member ID. Okay, so public string first name, last name, and put address. I'll have address. Okay, so these are the four data I'm going to have. Okay. This is my model. Okay, so you got the model, no? So I'm going to create one more class. Okay. Now you know what is we have created the model. I'll just open the model. So I'm going to create an interface. Okay. Let's see the interface afterwards. I'll tell you why we should use an interface. Okay. Basically, I have already told when we are saying C sharp, I told you why we should have an interface. So we'll do that. I will tell you post. Uh, post we do the controller. Okay. we should go to, okay. What should I do then? Okay, I wanted to let's go to your let's create one controller. Okay, that's member controller. Add a controller. I'll create an empty controller, add it. Member controller. Okay, so now I have a member controller. This is my member controller. First, I'm going to define a root for my member controller. Okay, so yeah, these are all same as you have in uh, MVC only. So if you have any questions, ask me. In MVC, you will not have something like this. Only that is the difference in something like API in your URL. In MVC, you will not have API in your URL. Here, you will see API in the URL. Okay, you will have starting itself is will be API only. So I am mentioning that root, and after that API slash or my controller name, which is member. Okay, I'm mentioning this as API controller. Okay, I have mentioned the root. I have mentioned this as API controller. Okay, so what next I'm going to do? I'm going to write it get. Okay, let's write it. You have the action result. Get all members. Okay, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. So I have a member controller. This member controller, when you hit this member controller, let's put http get. Okay, so I'm going to hit this member controller. This member controller is going to, I'm going to use when it comes here, using an interface which I'm going to create. I'm going to using the interface, I'm going to create one more repository. Okay, using interface, I'm going to hit the repository. In repository, I'm going to connect to the database, get the data, and this data will be stored as member model, and this model will be returned. Okay, this is what we are going to do. You have any questions?
No. Actually, is in this control, is it required to write a route like API says control name?
No needed. No needed. Actually, these two are not needed at all. Um, okay. Basically, why we write a route? Because I write the route, I write it as an API controller so that it recognizes the route. Why
Okay.
I write the route? Okay. Let's say, see, we were like currently I'm working in a project. Okay, so I showed you that code last week, no? I almost have like 50 to 15 to 25 controllers. Okay,
Okay.
so few controllers seem very similar. Let's say my one controller is tools, my another controller is tool order. Okay, another controller name is tool maintenance. Okay, and there is a tool main kit. See, all these seems very similar, no?
Yes.
So at that time, I do not, I want, sometimes I want um, to differentiate the controller names. See, whatever controller name that I give here is my choice. Like it basically your choice. You can create it whatever you want because this is your code. No, you're not going to show the code to anyone, but this name you will be sharing to everyone. No, so you can create any name you want. Basically, see your URL should have your controller. That is for sure. Controller name. It will be using a controller name only. See how this is going to be. I'll tell you. HTTPS and let's say some URL domain name. Mm, say local something. Okay. Then slash API slash going to have the member slash get all members. This is going to be your URL. No, you cannot change the URL like member get all members. This you cannot change. But whatever you want to add in between, you can add. You can simply add a new API like this. Simply add. If you add this, it will be like new API slash. You can just simply add any name you want for differentiate. Okay, when you have multiple URLs, multiple controllers, we usually do this. We usually have the route, but it is entirely your need. If you want, you can have. Else, you don't. You don't need to have. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So at least basically have this. Okay. API slash controller. Why we asked to have this is because as I said, there's a difference between an URL in MVC and URL in web API. The difference is API. After the domain name, it should have API in your web API, and it will not API. It will not have API in your MVC. So sometimes your code might not recognize the web API, and the URL will not be containing API. So to tell someone that this is my API, you should definitely have API in your URL. So for that, what we do is we add the route API just nothing I have added API slash controller name. That's all. So I'm saying that there should be a word called API before the controller. So for that, I'm adding at least add these things. Okay, and this is the basic. Okay, still you don't. If you don't want to, you don't need to add. But yeah, I want to expose. Like if someone wants my URL, I am saying that this is my API, and they should find it with the URL. If see, let's say there are teams that will consume many teams APIs. Like 15, 20 teams API they will consume. Each team they will give like 100 APIs means okay. If they are storing it somewhere, they should understand these are all APIs. Okay. If you do not have API in the URL, someday they might not recognize it. No? So basically
Okay.
for those reasons. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions?
No.
So, so I told you what I'm going to do. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this. I'm going to create. Let's create two. One is with just simple get. One is another one is get members by ID. We'll pass an ID.
Okay.
ID. Okay.
Okay.
So this is what we are going to do, and what I'm going to do is this is my start point. So I'm going to hit the controller. Here I'm going to hit the interface, and through interface I'll create one more folder called repository. This is what I'm going to do. Let's start with interface. So let's create an interface. So as I said, basically interface will have ID before it. Okay, and interface means you will create it as .cs only, but you'll change this to interface. See, once you change it to interface, the color changed. So let's create model is member or what? Member. Oh, member. Okay. I should add the reference now. Okay, once again. We should add the reference now.
Okay.
Just member. Once again, I want to rename it. I do not want to have this as member. That is wrong. Yes, everything is member. Rename to members. Okay. See, because everything was in same name, so it was not able to recognize. Okay, I will have get all. Oh, this is my thing, and next by ID. No, this
Yeah.
one. Let it return a single. Get members will and this we are going to pass in id. So from your controller you are going to hit this. So how we are going to hit this? First we'll hit this
Okay.
to your controller. So before this you should write your private I. Here also you should do the you should refer member. We have not referred itself, so this is controller now. What you should do, see, this is how you refer. So I came here, added the project reference, and you have the member.data. You should refer the member.data here. Means you can use all the things in this one, right?
Okay.
Got it now? Any questions?
No, no.
Yeah. So I have added it here. So now you will see. So you see the project and member.data is in the dependencies. Now you write the using. So before I was not able to get it. Now see.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is member.data dot interface. I'm going to refer everything. Member dot data dot model first. So I'm going to write the reference here. I already wrote it. So private I member members equal to I haven't created the repository. Okay, let's do that and come. Okay, so I told you, no. So interface, you are going to use the interface just to connect to the repository. Repository is what it's going to get the data from the database. That's why we use an interface. So I haven't created anything in the repository. Now repository is the actually where you write the logic to reach your database. Okay, let's do this. You have to create a class. Okay, stop me anywhere you if you don't understand anything. Okay, so I just want to go in that flow so that you understand. That's why. So so I'm going to use the interface to connect with the database. Let's say you want to use the interface. Okay, how you will use the interface? How will you use the interface? So what how you use an interface? Tell me, no.
First, we can create a reference here.
How will you create the reference here?
Mm,
Simple.
First,
It's yeah. Tell me.
yes, colon,
Here.
yes, colon,
Mhm.
interface name.
Okay. Right. Exactly. So you should actually what you should do is you should actually inherit the interface. That's all.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Why it is throwing error? Can you tell me?
Mm, Actually, yeah, yes, we need to implement those two methods.
Right. We have two methods.
Yes,
We have just declared it. So when you declare a method and that interface is being called somewhere else, you should implement it. Right. So now we should implement this here. And when we implement this, we can directly call the interface from your control. That's all. Done. Let's implement it. So before that, let me create a okay. First, I'm not going to connect with database. Instead of connecting with database, I'm going to just simply create a list and return it. Okay.
okay,
First, we'll see the how the API works, and then I will add the uh, database connection with entity framework. Okay.
okay,
First, we'll simply see how this is going to work. So members, I'll just first I will write the code. I'll simply replace that with entity framework. Else it will not be that it will be confusing for you also. Okay.
okay,
So what we should do? Model is not there. We should add the uh, uh, model. Okay. So I'm going to create the list members. Member ID equal to 1, comma, first name, um, last name, let's have address to be Mm. Did I miss something? Okay. Create the public list members. So get all member is what all member. Here I didn't use. Okay. Okay. So this is first interface, no? Get all member. This returns the list, so I am returning the list itself. Okay.
Okay.
Next one. Next one is returns the model. 8 members. Okay.
Screen is not visible.
Hey Jignesh. Hello.
Yes.
Jignesh, my laptop got switched off. Has some eating issue. Yeah, it's again it's 8. No, we'll continue this tomorrow.
Okay.
So we have created like basically the repository. Just going to create the repository and I'm going to run and show you. Okay. So
Okay.
tomorrow we'll just continue with this implementing the second method in repository, and then we shall call that in controller, and we'll see how it actually works. Okay. How
Okay.
the API works. Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Any doubts? Any questions on today's session?
No.
Okay. So, yeah, today you try to write all these. So today we created the model, interface, repository, controller, and all. So how to call the interface from controller alone, that we will see tomorrow. But create your solution. Create a class member and create all this interface, model, repository, and all. Okay. And once you create, only you'll know, like if there is any doubt and all, you will get only at that time. Okay.
Okay.
You create and let me know if you face any difficulties or you have any doubts. Okay.
Okay.
Tomorrow we'll test the API, and then just convert in repository. We'll convert the database code into entity framework. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.